Yolanda is an 11-year-old in Mrs. Mitchell's 6th grade classroom who doesn't do any homework or any of her assignments during class time. Mrs. Mitchell was beginning to wonder if perhaps Yolanda was a slow learner or not ready for the 6th grade, and she rarely cooperated with her classmates unless she was forced to. But continuing to observe her behavior, Mrs. Mitchell realized that Yolanda was truly intelligent, but lacked motivation. She began to document her missing assignments and to observe her lack of cooperation with her classmates. Mrs. Mitchell gave Yolanda a self-assessment to see what her perceptions were of her intelligence and her cognitive abilities. Yolanda responded that she considered herself highly intelligent, but she was bored by school. After looking at Yolanda's files, Mrs. Mitchell saw that Yolanda was extremely intelligent and motivated until the 5th grade year when her mother died. After doing a little more digging, Mrs. Mitchell sees that Yolanda lives with her father, Rudy, and her stepmother, Gretchen, and her older brother, Rudy Jr., who recently dropped out of high school. Yolanda is on the basketball team, and Mrs. Mitchell talked with her coach to discover if there had been any changes since Yolanda's mother's death. However, rather than becoming less motivated, she discovered that Yolanda became more motivated to improve her skills after her mother died. Still, she is making very few efforts to connect with her teammates and work cooperatively. Mrs. Mitchell, after talking with the school counselor and Yolanda's 5th grade teacher, decided to call on Yolanda's father and stepmother to have a parent-teacher conference.
Hello, Mr.
Hello.
And Mrs. Goldstein. Hello. Thank you for coming to meet with me today. Please have a seat.
I understand there are some problems with Yolanda. Is she causing trouble in class?
No, not specifically. She just doesn't seem to be forming relationships with her classmates or tries to get her assignments done. Have you seen any changes in her recently?
Well, her mother died last year, and though she seems to like me, she's been struggling with her mother's death, but I don't think that would affect her performance in school.
I gave Yolanda a self-assessment last week, and she said that she considers herself highly intelligent, which I agree with. She always scores well on her tests, and her standardized test scores are very high across the board.
Well, my father was an astrophysicist, and her mother always held her up to a very high standard, and Gretchen here is working on her PhD.
It's very important for parents to take an active role in their children's learning. So I appreciate your attitudes very much. I'm just worried about Yolanda's lack of motivation in class activities and assignments.
What do you recommend?
I believe, and Yolanda confirmed in her self-assessment, that she is just not being challenged in the classroom. I'm interested in giving her some higher level lessons and seeing if that helps her. Would you be willing to let me try this?
I really think that would help her, Rudy.
Well, you are the teacher, but I'd like to check in again in a few weeks just so I can see how everything's going.
Of course, Mr. Goldstein. I completely agree. I was also wondering, how would you feel about Yolanda meeting with our school counselor to discuss her emotional well-being?
I don't know about that. I think she's doing just fine.
Rudy, don't be obtuse. We should do whatever we can for her.
The death of a parent is a very traumatic event, and it can be very helpful to have someone to talk to. I think Yolanda's behavior would improve, and it could be an outlet for her emotions.
Okay, I think you're right. She has my permission to meet with the school counselor. Thank you so much for caring about Yolanda. I can see that you care much more than just another test score.
Yolanda is a very bright student, and I appreciate her in the classroom. I just want her to reach her full potential. Thank you so much for coming to meet with me. I really appreciate your support.
Parent-teacher conferences can be very valuable to a teacher's knowledge about their students. Teachers should research student files, test scores, and interactions with other teachers, coaches, and school counselors with whom they may spend time before calling parents into conference. In addition, all conversations should be approached carefully and delicately in order to not offend the parents. When teachers and parents work together to benefit student learning, everyone wins.